Hello, my friends. I was just reading some of the comments on the Seeing the Ego video that I just did, and it made me feel like that should be a part 1. And I'll do a part 2, and who knows, maybe there'll be a part 3 and part 4. But for those of you that are interested in this exploration, or, some of you have written and said you've had tastes of this, seeing through the symbols, I wanted to take a next step in exploring the ego. So when we think about our mind's activity, we could simplify things and imagine that there's 2 things going on in our mind. There is the thinking mind, and the thinking mind, a lot of people say, oh, okay, this is the part of me that's having kind of almost auditory thoughts. The part of me that's saying, what should I say next on the video? Okay, boy, that was pretty good breakfast this morning. And it's a little cold. This snow kind of tickles. But it's much deeper than that. The thinking mind encompasses all of our judgments, and there's layers and layers of this thinking. Our judgments, our preconceptions, our basic ideas about the world. And that's why it's like an onion. Because as we start to explore that thinking mind, we see that it gets ever more subtle in its ability to pretend it's not thinking, but actually it's still engaged in that thinking part of the mind. Now the other part of the mind is our being mind. Some people call this the watcher or the observer. And this is the part that has the power to observe the thoughts. So if I was here and I am completely unaware of my watcher, then I'm literally lost in my thoughts. I take my thoughts as me, as my ego. And they are what I identify with, what I consider myself to be. I take them very seriously. So when my mind goes into a thought, I get lost in that thought train, and I'll have pretty strong reactions about it because I think of it as very real. It's the only reality that I'm aware of. As we sit in meditation, there's leaves falling. It's just beautiful. As we sit in meditation and begin some self-exploration of our mind state, then we start to see there's somebody, there's something that is watching the thoughts. And you can sit there and almost like a movie watch your thoughts go through your mind. This watcher, this beingness, over time we start to identify with that watcher. And this is kind of the next step in exploring our ego. And we need to go further than this. But at this point, we can start to, if you will, identify with that watcher. And that sense of beingness becomes who we are. As this happens, we don't take our thoughts as seriously. In truth, we're still, usually when we think we're in watcher or beingness, we're still lost in more subtle realms of thought. But again, that's further down the road here. But right now, if we can simplify and think there's the thinking mind and there is the being mind or the watcher, and sit down on a rock, on your bed, at a park, wherever, and look into your mind and observe this and see, well, I can't really be aware of my thinking unless there's this something that's aware of it. I have to take a step back in order to watch that movie of my thoughts going on. If I'm lost in my thoughts, I'm purely in that state of being lost in Maya, lost in the dream. And that has its own beauty in a way. I love to think of the Hindu religion in its more mystical sense. And we think if God or the divinity, the beingness, becomes these forms, you and me, and if we manage to be completely hidden, then the divine has done this perfect job of hiding from itself. And in so doing, in a way, that's divine perfection. Then there's this joke on the rest of us who start to see, wait a second, is something going on here? And we see that difference. Here's my thoughts and here's my beingness. And then we get on this crazy lifelong journey to explore spirituality and try to figure all of this stuff out. But right now, I'm hoping that it's helpful, again, to come back to that simplicity. Sit down and see if you can feel a difference between your watching self, your being self, and the thinking self. That's all. If you can do that, let me know. Let me know what you observe. And who knows, maybe I'll make a part 3 of this and we'll explore this into the next layer of the onion, so to speak. So tell me what you think, share your thoughts, and this is really fun to have this exploration with all of you. Love to you all.